Hopefully you can see my screen okay and hear my voice okay. Happy Wednesday. Definitely seems like we just talked. 2 weeks went by fast. Hey, Scott, good to see you. Shiv, Karen, Chris, Christian, lots of you know, we're starting to get back into fall here soon, right? So I know more and more will attend. So I've got the S&P up here, as you can see, obviously. And when I talked 2 weeks ago, does anybody remember what did I think was going to happen based on what's happened in the past? Are we going to be higher or lower on the S&P? Any idea? Come on, nobody listened to me? Hey, Scott. That's right. Wait for that pullback to head higher, right? And was that perfect or what? And we hit new highs today. And so again, when you're in a trend, folks, okay, if you're already out of a trade here, so let's say you were out of this long play and then you let it retrace. First of all, that was, I mean, a beautiful kiss off the 2.5 standard deviation, right? The cloud's been green the entire time, which again, bullish activity. You look at the seasonal, you know, big picture, we had higher. You look at sentiment, you knew retailers were extremely short the market. Okay, it's not hard to pick direction. What's hard is making money in that direction, right? So you need tools. And so, you know, here's an example where if I was flat here, a good entry is when you have a green Hackenacci, then after that beautiful retracement. Okay, and then you just put your stop below even the last day's wick, because if you're wrong, be wrong. If you're right, take it for a ride. Okay. Just like the Qs, let's look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ as well hit new highs today. Again, same patterns, right? Same patterns. And then we have the Dow. And the Dow hasn't hit new highs quite yet, right? Not quite yet. But the day's not over. Probably not today. Okay, but so again, what is my stance on what I think we're going? I think we'll continue higher. I think as we get pullbacks, we'll look to resume that uptrend. Okay. Interesting, you know, we have been red on the ADX here the last 3 days for the Dow. Kind of some summer boringness, I guess you could call it, but it's been predictable. So what we're seeing in the markets is extremely predictable right now. So make money off of it. Bonds. So we made money on this up move, again, highly predictable, really since July. This is a highly predictable move year in and year out. Okay, as I mentioned last. Now we're getting close to a top. This may be it. Okay, I am getting a gear trigger today, short. Okay, my caution is, even though I agree, seasonality, we should start heading lower. The cloud's still green, that's one caution. Okay, but it is getting thinner. So, you know, that's always an opportunity that if you want to be more aggressive, you've got Hackenacci turning red, you can do it. Put your stop above these wicks and let it go. Okay. Same, you know, you can do the same with TLT or TMF for stocks. But the caution is this. Remember, the trend is our friend. And until this starts making lower highs, okay, going against the trend can be tough. Okay, so I know if I take this trade, I don't know if I will publicly or not, but if I do, I'm going in smaller size and I have a defined target risk. Okay, but I also know that, you know, there was a lot right here. Let me draw it out for you. Right here, there's a lot of support, right? It didn't really break and close above this. So we could at least get another test down here, worst case, right? So if you took profits at the here, and then if it kept going down, great. But the trend is our friend. So there is a little bit of risk here, although I like it to the short side now. I just want to make sure you understand the defined risk, right? If this was a reversal going back to the upside with cloud staying green, Hackenacci and all that, then it's a better, especially if seasonality was back to the upside, okay? So again, just be careful understanding your risk. All right, so the VIX. Folks, I had a phenomenal trade in the VIX. Still in part of it. And what I did though is I sold a call. So when you're selling calls, you also have time decay, right, in your favor. You make money every day when that happens, okay? But during these wicks, during these quick moves up on the VIX, okay, you can buy a put, same thing, but I like to sell calls because then I don't have time decay working against me. And I'm usually only 3 weeks out or so on these plays. And again, I'll talk more about the strategy behind the VIX, but very predictable trades, okay? Very predictable trades. And again, at this point, it still looks like it wants to head back to the original base, which is what it typically does, okay? You can see seasonal, we start kind of sideways action here on the VIX, okay? So as we get, news events, who knows what's going to happen with Afghanistan. If the markets, a lot of it's weighed in, but if there's some things that spooks the markets and the VIX spikes, okay, I look to sell at spike, okay? Great trade throughout the year. All right, gold. So gold is getting close here to a short trigger, not quite yet, okay? And I do like it as a short play. You can see here that now we start having a lower high, the clouds back, to red here, very thin, very indecisive, right? But if gold triggers and keeps coming down, then this cloud will get larger to the red side. Seasonality, we typically had lower on gold right now, okay, all the way until the end of the year, big picture. We do have the month of October that it kind of rebounds, then goes back down. So I'm more short than long on gold now. If I wanted to get really aggressive, let's say you're looking at something like GDX, okay? You can see on GDX, the cloud's nice and red, right? And so all systems go here. And if it breaks above the cloud, turns green, you can exit the trade. If not, look to make some lower ones. Also GLD. I like this one a little bit better from an opportunity standpoint, right? Where again, if it breaks above here, you can exit or break above here, depending on your risk tolerance. If you do a longer term expiration, like a December or November, right? Just to give you time, more than likely we're going to continue on that downside, right? Any questions on gold there? Let me know. Excellent. Okay, also the dollar index here. Let's bring that up. So again, now that I've incorporated the magic cloud here, it can be extremely useful to help you big picture. So you can see here, we hit that just like the indexes. On the dollar index, we hit the 2.5 standard deviation, and then we got triggers long with the green cloud, okay? So it heads up, retraces, heads up, retraces. If it then starts turning around right at the bottom of this cloud, seasonality, I like it to the upside on the dollar index, right? But I'm gonna wait for the indicators to tell us, right? I want a green Hackenacci, I want the Laguerre to curve up, and I want the cloud to stay green. That's all I'm looking for, okay? If it doesn't happen, well, I'll just let it go. There's plenty of trading to do with other stuff, right? The key is to have a plan. Okay, the key is to have a plan and just look at your charts, and when it happens, you're good to go. Okay. All right, so let me alphabetize this and just kind of go over a few things. So Bitcoin, Bitcoin now is broken above the magic cloud. We did back here, and it's been, holding nice now. So I do think by the end of the year, we'll hit new highs on Bitcoin, which means, some of those favorite blockchain stocks out there you can look at. What I'm looking for right now is one of two things: either a 4-hour trigger. Okay, going into the 4-hour here, you can see, look at that. We got a 4-hour trigger. Okay, if the next bar opens and the gear's still up there, you're entering in. You can do the micro Bitcoin, or you can do something else, but just kind of showing you how I look at that. The cloud is green, the gear, Hakanachi. Okay, good opportunity for you. Okay. Or if you're going to wait for the daily trigger, it could be a while, which is absolutely acceptable. Just know that as long as the cloud stays green, we're looking for those resumption in the trend trades. At some point we'll get a pullback, high or low, then we'll go and get it. Okay. Again, you can look at things like MARA, right? Same thing. Beautiful opportunity on Mara or Riot. There's a lot of them. Okay. But once it continues this breakout, it can move, right? And the risk, put your stop, for example. If you're looking at taking one of these, it closes below here, get out. It's that simple, right? And if you're not okay with that risk, don't take it. But if you got in here as an example, okay, you want your profit taking roughly part of your trade, at least half, at least your risk, or at least half. With stocks, usually whatever your risk, you should take profits on when it goes in your direction. Okay. If I was doing 2 contracts as an example, I would take half here and then let the other run, keeping an eye on break even, right, on that second. You don't want to turn the second into a loser. Or you can quickly look at that, see the risk, see if you're okay with that. If not, look at something else. Okay. All right, AMC. Look at this. So AMC now, the clouds turn green. And by the way, I have a scan now I'm testing that will show you when it went from red to green. Okay, it'll show us. That way we know we have a cloud change. Okay, I'll talk more about that in future weeks, just still making sure it's working properly. And the same thing is when it turned green to red, the scan can look for that as well. Okay, again, just more tools. So you can see here on AMC, it's breaking out now. You can also see that from a seasonal perspective, on a 5-year seasonal, we're usually topping right around after Labor Day. Okay. So if you take this, be careful. Or if you wait for it to roll back over and turn red again, maybe that's your better play, but you have only 5 years here of data showing you where we're at on that. Okay. AMD, so again, one of my favorite stocks of the year, hit a new high, then it did a normal retracement, stayed green, stayed here, had a new trigger right here yesterday. Okay. What I like about it is, yeah, we've got green, 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 green. Okay, I do like larger retracements. The band is fine though, and following the rules, the trigger as of getting in this morning is a good opportunity for AMD. Broadcom, one of my favorites this time of year. The probabilities of it going higher is amazingly crazy. If you have my data mining, you know that. I think I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. So you wait patiently for these pullbacks, and then you can get in, right? Earnings is coming up here on September 2nd. So depending on your risk tolerance, you either get in before and get out, or hold on, or you get on it, you get in after. Again, there's no perfect answer there. It depends on what you're willing to risk. Salesforce, again, following that same pattern, you're just looking to enter. We had earnings. What was that? Was that before or after today? So interesting to see what happens for tomorrow on Salesforce. If we get a retracement, we'll look to re-enter long based on our entry techniques. Okay. All right, a couple of things that I'm looking at as well, just to kind of give you an idea. So see my notes here. ALGN, I think we talked about this 2 weeks ago. Okay. You got in on 826 and you exit on 913 just by pure dates. This has made money 18 out of 19 years. Okay. So that's tomorrow. So am I going to get in first thing tomorrow? Probably not, because we're right at highs. Okay. The really good entry was when it turned back green Hakanachi a couple days before that. But if we're not, then here's what I would do. Just keep an eye on that 4 hour on ALGN. Okay. So the next pullback and the next trigger we got, okay, when that is long and it'll happen, it'll happen so this happened on Tuesday night. Okay. This reversal was on a week later, almost a week later. So it'll happen, or you can go even smaller if you really want to aggressively go in. You can go in off like a 1 hour. Okay. So again, just showing you options here. You would have had a 9 o'clock Monday at 9 trigger. But you can always go to smaller time frames when you have high probability opportunities. Okay. That way, instead of just going in, especially at highs here, you at least have something rule-based. Okay. My first is to get off the daily. If it happens, if it doesn't, go to a 4. If it doesn't, I still want to get in by going off the hourly. Okay. Keep an eye on ALGN. NVIDIA, very bullish this time of year, right? We've talked about this week in and week out. So again, it's just, if you're in these trades, stick with them. If not, when you get these reversals, then back into that direction. I mean, even a move like this, right? So Hakanachi turned green. If you get in at the open here the next day, okay, let's say you get in at 200 for easy math, right? In just a few days, you're at 224. But we also know from the seasonal indicator that we typically go higher. We also know from the data mining that if you entered on 812, okay, so let me mark this. 812, right here. So if you entered on 812, oops, wrong way, hold on. Move, I guess I need to go in the right direction for that, right? So from 812 right there to 825, which is today, imagine that, okay? Perfect example to show you. So if you got in here just off the pure data mining and you exited today, okay, this has made money 19 out of 21 years, about an 8% move, okay? So I wanted to show you that today because nothing is guaranteed. But if you have that data, and there's lots of these trades, okay? This is the stock for bulls less than 20 days. So these are shorter term bull moves. If this has gone higher 19 out of 21 years, again, if somebody called you up back on this date, this is how I like to tell people. If someone called you up on August 12th and said, hey, if you go long on NVIDIA, okay, you're gonna probably make money because you've made money 90% of the time since it's been around. Okay, you're gonna be back in the days calling that broker, right? In this case, you got in this date, you're like, well, this trade sucks, right? Then it popped right back up. But as I told you, even though you can take these right off the dates, I like to wait. When do I like to wait? I like to wait for a trigger, which in this case was right here, right? Or if you really want to be aggressive on those short term, this is exactly what I would do as a 4 hour chart. That way, even though you would have took some heat, you've been fine, the trigger is right here. If you're waiting for the cloud to turn green, right here. Okay, so let's say you get in at the open at 198. Okay, now 224. So if you got in at 198, you made more money. If you entered in right at the date, okay, right here at the date, you actually made even more money on that. Okay, other than depending on your option play, you didn't, if there's a little bit of time to keep it. It's a short move trade. So what I'm trying to show you is there's a lot of ways to play this data mining. I like to, especially when you have those short-term data mining, less than 20 days, okay, I like to go in either on the date and just close my eyes with a stop loss, obviously, or my favorite is the 4 hour. Okay, that's how I do most of my trades on those, because you're going to get a trigger on that 4 hour at some point. Okay. Okay. Let me just grab a couple more from the shorter term that's coming up. Well, let me look at some that's currently going. So let me look up Mktx. What I'm trying to show you folks here is probabilities. That's all. So Mktx, 816 to 92. So let me just draw one more line here. I know it's boring, but it's important. So 816 and then 92 right here. Okay, so if you get in today on this day and you exit where this green line is right here, okay, 14 out of 16 years has gone higher, 6%. Okay, 6%. And this is a pretty expensive stock, right? Then you got your Laguerre trigger right here during that window. That's pretty powerful, right? But again, with those short-term window trades, if you're going off a 4 hour chart, okay, you can go in either on the Laguerre trigger, which was on the day of the data mining. That doesn't happen all the time, right? But you might say, well, wait a minute, the cloud was still red, so I'm going to wait for it to change to green. Then your entry's right here, okay? And so now between now, if you got in right here and you exit roughly at the green line right here, okay, this is made money. 14 on a, or I'm sorry, Mktx, what was that? That was 14 out of 16 years, okay? And that's not even one of my favorite ones. I'm just throwing the data out here, okay? You can also sort on the data mining by average profit. And you can say, okay, which ones coming up have given you the largest profit? So URI is one. Let me bring up URI because it's coming up, okay? So if you entered on 8/24, okay, so right here was the enter date, and you exit on September 20th, right here, okay? So if you entered yesterday, and exited on the 20th, looking at my data mining here, you're expected to win 13 out of 16 years. So again, probability there is 81%. Okay, that's not the greatest, not for me, but when it makes the move, it's 11% move. Okay, so it's a pretty big move. But what I love about this is we got the Laguerre trigger again, another example on the day the data mining was given you. That doesn't happen that often. We're just getting lucky here on a couple of examples I'm showing. Okay, this will hit new highs, folks, very soon. Okay, look at the seasonal on that. Okay, so let's just look at these high probabilities. Again, I've got one of my clients. He really only trades off of the data mining, grabbing the over 20 for longer term, less than 20 for the shorter term. You know, so if you were getting in on these, you know, you're going out anywhere from 4 to 6 week option plays. They're cheaper. You can make good returns. You've got the data right in front of that. Okay. So Ryan says, would you make the, I don't know when you typed that. I'm sorry, I wasn't looking. If the cloud was still red, okay, that's the decision you have to make. I would definitely wait till Hackenacci turned green, Ryan. I don't know which one you were looking at on that. If the cloud is red and getting thinner, like it was here, for example, okay, then I'm okay with that. I usually go in half size. Obviously, what I like is this example where you got the green cloud the Laguerre and the green dot. I mean, that doesn't get much better than for demonstration purposes than right here, right? Yeah, Laguerre dot. So if it's a red dot, it means you have a red candle. Okay, and then when it turns yellow, you can go in. Absolutely, on a yellow. Because what you're looking at is these are high probability short-term trades. Okay. Okay. So you can be more aggressive, just don't be stupid, right? What I mean by that is don't bet the farm because of these odds, because that would be the one year it doesn't work out. Okay. Trust me, I've done that 15 years ago. All right, so what else do we got? Some high probability moves. So we got another one that has made money, let's see, 88% of the time. We've talked about this one earlier. CRM. Okay, and the window of opportunity is 2 days ago until September 10th. So 2 days ago, right here, till September 10th. Salesforce has made money 14 out of 16 years, 8%. Okay. So you know going into it, and here's an example where you have earnings. Okay, so obviously what that's telling you folks, typically the earnings is bullish, right, from Wall Street perspective, because the seasonal data obviously has this information in it. But we got a green cloud. A better trade, obviously, looking back on this, is going back to a 4-hour, knowing you've got this window coming up and saying, okay, 5 o'clock Wednesday, here's my long play. Or we've got the curve coming up here. If you haven't taken it yet, good opportunity, right? Just be careful with earnings, but again, that data is baked in there. So if you're not willing to take the risk of earnings, then don't wait till after. You know, if you miss it, who cares? There's plenty of other to trade, right? All right, go back to daily. I can look at Teva. Let me look at TEVA. Okay, so here's a good example where, you know, from a seasonal perspective, it's kind of trending down, right? You know, some ups and downs. So I'm, you know, definitely more to the downside on TEVA. Okay, the cloud is still red. I'd like to see if, you know, we're getting close to a trigger long. We got a combo trigger long here. So if you were going to take this against it's a thin cloud, I would be taking profits of like 10 bucks. Okay, I wouldn't, but what I'd really be looking for more than anything is come back up here and then roll back over for a short play. That would be my preference. Okay. We got bearish sentiment here. Okay. And so that is weighing on me as well. So if I had to pick a direction, I would want to short this. Okay. We had a nice short here, a retracement, cloud turned green for a few days, back to red. We're getting in a little bit of consolidation here. So I'd be patient on this. My number one choice would be let this come up, if it does anyway. If it can create a lower high, cloud stays red or gets red again, a short play is better in my opinion. What are the red and green lines above and below the clouds? Are you talking about they're just the layer of the cloud here is all? It's just showing you, because I have also daily resistance up here in white, which is based off of that, those values. Oh yeah, if you're in a short play, I like it. Yeah. You know, protect yourself, especially if you're up. You know, you don't want to give profits away because now Hakanachi's turning back and you got to combo along. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a retracement here, but you know, depending on where you got in, you definitely, I still like it short. Okay. So the Bollinger Bands are right here. This is the top band, Scott. This is the bottom, and I keep it at 2.5 standard deviations right now, meaning this. When you look at Bollinger Bands, where is it? It is right here. See how I got -2.5, +2.5? Okay. And typically when it touches, it wants to go back in the other direction, at least to the mean, right? That's the goal. Sure, KMX. So KMX, typically we bottom right around September 20th, okay, the week of September 20th. So I still like it short. Okay, I like to see it come up, touch the top of the cloud and come back down. But then when we get into October, look for a long play on KMX. All right, I don't. I mean, I've studied Keltner channels. I mean, there's a lot of different tools, right? And it's one that I prefer Bollinger Bands over Keltner for sure. But there's advantages of both. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on that? So the other thing I want to show you, some of you probably saw this on my YouTube, but I wanted to bring it up because it's free. It's free opportunities for you, okay? So I put together, and most of you might have got this campaign just to kind of show people. Let me go back to May, where I publicly do trade of the month, right? And I can do that because they're high probability trades, folks. And when you look at Broadcom back in May, okay, which is back here, what we look for is when we get a trigger, which was right here, May 19th, okay? Now, in my trade of the months, I give you what I'm looking for based on high probabilities, usually from the data mining, okay? I don't give entry dates because everyone has their own entries. What I say is I usually like to wait for the Laguerre, but some of you don't even have the Laguerre. So whatever oscillator you're using. But the entry date was right here on the 20th, okay, May 20th. And there Broadcom went, okay? And again, at the start of May, I said, you know, I'm just looking for a long play on Broadcom. And again, the reason being is extreme high probability it was going higher based off of the data mining techniques, okay? The next one was June, UKG, right? Those of you that follow know that. So June, you might go, so wait a minute, you know, this is June and it's going down, right? So you may decide just to skip this trade, right? And that's the beauty of it. Or you could say, okay, June 24th, I'm sorry, June 28th, which is the end of June, with a red cloud, and said, you know what, this year, maybe it's not the good year as it's almost over, right? June was almost over. Yeah, you could have made money on this move right here, or if you did a further out play, you're in good shape. But here's just an example where if you have techniques, even during high probabilities, you can wait for the entry. In this case, being at the end of the month here, you may have held, said, nope, not this year, or you did a longer term play and you're fine. Either or on PKG. Okay. July was TDY. And let me put these links in the chat for you, just in case you want to watch the videos. Some of you aren't familiar with these, so let me just put it in there for you. There you go. Okay, you can click on those and that. All right, so TDY. Okay, this was for July. So again, where is the trigger? Well, on the daily chart, the trigger is right here on the 12th, which means the 13th. So if you got in, it went against you through a couple of days, and there you go. Okay, but again, look at the data. Between July 12th and September 20th, 20 out of 21 years has gone higher, 12%. Folks, again, I'll take those odds every year, as long as I get a trigger within that window, right? What does that tell you about earnings? Because it's within that window, you know, your earnings is usually a positive thing with Wall Street with this particular stock, okay? But again, if I called you up personally and said, AJ, if you get in on 712, you exit on 920, you've made money 20 out of 21 years, 12%, you would do it, okay? Here, the entry was on the 10th, right? The Laguerre triggered on the 9th. The 10th is the entry. Got in a couple days early from the window. Okay, let's say you waited because you don't want to go in before the date, which I'll go in a week before the date, but let's say you didn't want to. Okay, you just then go to that 4-hour chart. And you look for entries on the 4-hour. Okay, you can see there's plenty of entries here to give you rule-based, shorter term time frame entries. Okay. And then the August trade of the month was TRV. And yes, folks, I take all of these when I get triggers. I don't always do these in the alerts because if I'm already giving you a free opportunities publicly, you know, that's already a free trade. So on TRV for August, right here, we had the trigger on the 5th. Okay, and here the cloud was also thinning really nicely. Okay, and again, what you can look for is say, well, back on that day, let's say you get in, if it closes below this wick, I'm just going to get out. Okay, but I know with extreme high probabilities, this is traveler's time to move, and of course it hit new highs today. Okay, so we don't always know that. What I look for is statistical moves. This is for whatever reason, institutions buy travelers in August, and they did again this year. Okay, I got September's trade of the month coming here in the next couple days. Okay, I'm not gonna tell you it yet. It's a secret. But again, take a look at those videos, and if you don't, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to them. Let me just bring up my website so you can see where to do that at. I think you'll be able to see my screen. Let me know if you can't see my website here in a minute. But what you do is seasonaltraderpro.com. Okay, in the main page, you just scroll down, and this is the weekly market analysis that you've already in today. Okay, but then if you subscribe to the trade of the month down here, right here, you'll get them emailed directly to you. Okay, sound good? Okay, that way you can look at them and you can jot them down, and that way next year, you know some high probability opportunities, right? Yeah, if you go to my YouTube, I did a training, well, a webinar on it. Let me see if I can find it real quick, AJ, and then let me bring up Apple while I'm looking for it here. You guys can all look at Apple, gals. Let's see here. All right, I found it. Let me plug that into the chat. I'll call it the cloud recording. There you go. All right, so Apple. So Apple's a great example again where go back here. We had the Laguerre heading back up, green Hackenacci, the cloud's green, okay, and it just every time it comes into the cloud, it respects it. It comes right back out, right? One thing to note, during here, the cloud was thinning, getting smaller, so you're just getting consolidation, okay? And so what I'm looking for is kind of like with the indexes. The next bigger retracement on Apple, I'll look to go long when it's meeting my criteria, right? So I'm not looking to add in here or anything like that. I want to see it come back down, or if it continues higher and breaks out, finally I'll go to a 4-hour and look for an entry, okay? But you know, absolutely, Apple's doing exactly what it should be right now this time of year. Okay. All right, Ryan. For intraday option trades, what would be the shortest time frame you'd recommend? Well, so for example, and bring up my day trading that I do, just to show you. 5 minute and 1 minute. I love to trade. Okay. I don't day trade every day. It's just my lifestyle. I don't want to. Okay. But we had a nice entry this afternoon or this morning right here on the 5 minute on the ES. Okay. So yeah, all time frames just depends on your risk tolerance. The trick is the smaller the time frames, the less profit goals, right? Because you can't expect a 1 minute chart to make the same amount of money as a daily chart. And that's where a lot of people fail, is they don't know where to take profits. Okay. And yeah, you can use the cloud on any time frame. That's what it's programmed for. I developed it from the daily and the 4, back tested it on all shorter time frame and tick charts, and the weekly is fantastic as well for you position traders. You can change this D to a weekly, right? And Apple's been since April of last year, April has stayed green in the cloud. Okay. My 2021 target is 200. I think we have a really good chance of hitting it. Back in January, it opened up roughly, let's call it 133. So, Apple has only gone up 20 some points so far this year. It's got room to run. All right. Go back to the daily. What questions do y'all have? Anything? Again, let me know. You can always type it in here or send me emails. I'm holding these for you. Okay. So if you like something, tell me you like it, just so that I know, okay, keep doing that. I'm always cherry picking off my data mining because that's how I trade. It's phenomenal data, for one. Okay. But feel free to give me other things you want to look at. That's what I'm here for. So we've got a few minutes. I'm in no rush today, so I don't have to be out of here till another few minutes. So if you want me to look at, can I explain the bottom indicators? Sure. So let me blow it up. So this white dotted line is my favorite indicator for my trigger. This is the Laguerre, Laguerre RSI. So it's a specialized RSI. I didn't create the Laguerre. I've modified it, but I also have trigger points right here on my watch list that tells me when it's triggered. So when this line, for example, goes up and crosses here, it'll show me on my watch list. Okay, that way I don't have to go sort through all the stuff. But the premise is when it comes into the green and comes out, that's a long opportunity. Okay, and when it's in the red and it comes down, that's a short opportunity. I like to use that in conjunction with Hackenacci. Okay, these are all Hackenacci candles here, so that if I get a Laguerre trigger, but Hackenacci is still red, I usually don't enter. If I do, it's smaller size until it turns back into the color I'm looking for. Okay. In this case, the cloud was still red. So you're better off at that point because you can look at other opportunities to trade, right? You're better off just waiting so that when you get a green cloud, then you can look for the long plays. And if one in this case, the daily's not giving you a chance, you can go to the 4 hour. Okay, so somewhere in June, I guarantee you we got a 4 hour trigger. Let's take a look. So I got to go back to June if it's going to show me June here. I don't know, somewhere back here is June, folks, trust me. And what you do is you just wait for those triggers. Okay, so sorry, but that's how you do it. Okay, so that's the Laguerre. Okay, and now the ADX, I just use ADX so I see it trending, whether it's a trending index. It doesn't tell you which direction. So green does not mean long, yellow does not mean long or short, red does not mean short. When it's red, we're in consolidation. So it's important to know that because you may decide not to take the trade because you might get stuck in consolidation. But when you're yellow or green, it's in a trending environment. Which direction? Well, usually the direction that my indicators tell me to. Okay, and then you have that pop up. So that's the ADX. Okay, and then the sentiment. I've created a special sentiment indicator to tell me, based on my criteria of sentiment, my proprietary information, green is bullish, White is neither bullish or bearish. And then red, which is hard to find on Apple, right? There's no red, meaning funds just aren't selling Apple, right? Let me go to another stock and we'll see, like if we look at something like Ford probably has some red in it at some point. Let's see. Maybe not though, because Ford's been, there we go. So back here in September of last year, we had some bearish sentiment and then neutral sentiment before it went to green, okay? It's not a timing indicator. I just like to know the overall sentiment when I'm looking at my chart. So I just keep it nice and scrunched down at the bottom with the ADX. The real meat and potatoes is the Laguerre with the Hockenacci dots and the cloud, okay? Yeah, Lobster. So this seasonal data here is my indicator. I have the 5-year and I have the green is the 10-year, okay? And you can adjust it. So if I go here, I can change that to 15 years and 20 or 10 and 20. As long as it has it, it'll show it, okay? I like to default it to 10 and 5, absolutely. Let me put that on, if you want to look at it at least. 1 second, let me find it. Bear with me. Just bringing it up here and I'll share it with you. In the chat here in just a second. All right, let me put that in the chat as well. You can look at that. That's a seasonal indicator. Okay. All right, so is the white dotted line before reaching red starts to go down, you exit? Raj, so on the white dotted line, you're talking, are you talking the Laguerre here or the sentiment? Which one are you talking about? You're probably talking the Laguerre line. If white dotted line before reaching red, no, I don't. So once it's going down, you know, I use this as a trigger, okay, and then I stay in that direction until it goes in the other direction, okay. And I don't like to go against seasonality and the trend as well. So it doesn't mean I take both sides directions. It just depends on the instrument I'm trading, okay. But if you went long here, for example, just as an example, right, you know, you can stay long until once the trigger's short, you probably want to exit, okay, unless you're positioning and going in longer term. So it's kind of a trick question because it depends on what type of trading you're doing. But most traders that follow me, they get in and then they exit when it goes in the opposite direction. Yep. Okay. All right. Let me see if there's any. Yeah, great point. So what we'll do in a couple weeks, we'll review scans. Okay, I'll get some scans ready and show you. Great question. We'll definitely do that. Thank you. Oh yeah, AJ, you can email me. URI, let's take a look. Yeah, great. All right. Game on, right? Game on. All right. Yeah, sure. Let's look at Visa. Yeah, this is think or swim. This is toss. Yep. Okay, so Visa's got a nice seasonal move coming. Okay, so we kind of had a Laguerre trigger, right? And green Hockenacci, but the cloud's still red. So here's what I recommend, folks, especially when you're not getting like a major move here. Patience. Because once the cloud turns green, you're going to get an entry and you don't have to, you can have an expiration till the end of the year or January if you want on a nice option play, right? You've got room to these highs. So what I would do is wait. Once the cloud turns green, if you don't want to wait on the daily, go to the 4-hour and wait on your trigger, okay? because we're in a downtrend right now based off of my cloud indicator. Make sense? Excellent. So yeah, so again, you just go to seasonaltraderpro.com and look around. Absolutely, reach out if you have questions. Let's look at Cisco. All right, so hit new highs, so you gotta wait now, right? And so what would I do to wait? So I mean, the first trigger, it turned from red to green. You had a Laguerre. That was a beautiful entry with at the time more of a flat seasonal, so you can go long. But now you just want to go to that 4 hour if you're bullish still on Cisco and wait for a new entry. Okay, that's exactly how I would handle that. Yeah, and if you have any questions, you can Dr. Keith at seasonaltraderpro.com. We put that in there for you. Dr. Keith at seasonaltraderpro.com, or you can always call me. If I don't answer, I'll call you back. That's my cell phone. Yes, I'm a real person. I'm not too mean. Also, if you're in Cisco, when would you get out? Well, it depends on what option play you did. If you bought the option or if you bought the stock, you know, that's probably different. But what I would do at this point is I would stay in at least part of my trade until Hackenacci turned red. Okay, that's how you can maximize your profits. So as long as the green dot, you can stay in, but don't turn a winner into a loser. Protect yourself or take partial profits at highs. Okay, so I would be taking partial profits on this. I let the other ride, and if it went against me, I'd be out or break even on the other half. Okay, that's how I would manage it. Because what you don't know as of today, if we look at this in 2 weeks, is it going to still be all green Hackenaccis? It may, and you want those, right? I mean, look at lumber. This is how I'll conclude today. Okay, bear with me. Look at the lumber's futures market. Okay, so back here, look at all the green Hackenacci, right? So why exit this? See, there's no green dots until right here. Okay, but then once it reversed, now the cloud's red. Okay, there's no reason. Everyone's talking about how high lumber prices are now, right? They're just fooling with you. Okay, they were high, but now they're lower than they used to be, way lower. Okay, so when you're getting those quotes from folks and Home Depot's ripping you off, okay, lumber's gone back down. Lumber's gone back down. Home Depot's gonna a good long coming up, folks. Just wait for the trigger, right? Wait for that cloud to go back green. You're looking for something to hold. You can hold the Home Depot for a while. No, it takes a while. You're right. Just like gas prices, right? They'll hike it up as soon as they can, but they won't reduce it. Oh, you know, we didn't talk about crude, did we? I don't recall. Let me bring up crude. So crude looks like it wants to reverse now. Solid green Hackenacci with Laguerre trigger. The risk is this though, folks. Seasonality is kind of down. Okay, to sideways. And I do think we're going to hit new highs on crude. Sentiment is still, retailers are still more short than long though. So I wouldn't be taking this long yet. What we want to see is a pullback, make a higher low. Then if you want to do that, want that cloud to turn green. But this could just roll right back over, right? The bias is still to the downside on crude. Excellent, Dave. Not bad. Not bad at all. All right, folks. Well, thanks for attending. Again, great discussion today. You know, please reach out if you have any questions. Other than that, we'll see you in 2 weeks. And again, I do believe we will be higher, but if we're not, when we get a pullback, look to re-enter that to the long side. See you soon, folks. Take care now.